Oh yeah, the mid-season patch, Sorcerer buffs, here we go!
A few moments later.
You know what, that's fine, that's fine, we can just do other stuff. Hello, my fellow sorcerers! Yesterday we got the full patch notes for patch 2.05, the mid-season patch, aka the buff all of the classes that aren't spiritborn class, so we all feel a little bit less terrible about ourselves. And I was excited, I really was. The little previews on the campfire chat, some of the things the devs said, I thought maybe, okay, we're going to have some other builds to explore, and some ways to get some serious pit progress that aren't, you know, abusing shatter. And, it's not all doom and gloom, but let's just say, I don't know what I expected. We've been down this road before. So let's actually go over everything, but before we do, let me really highlight the situation here. Sorcerer is currently the worst class in the game. If you look at the pit clears, it looks like Sorcerer is the third best class in the game. Obviously, Spiritborn is being Spiritborn God over there, but then, you know, Barbarian with the 1-2-3, and then Sorcerer with the 1-2-2. However, this is not an accurate representation of things, and I am worried that Blizzard thinks it is. See, in order to get any pit clear higher than 106, 107, Sorcerer has to play Shatter, and we have to abuse it and go Shatter fishing, and specifically get the boss that summons ads at the end, compound it with burning and the literally broken fireball bounces, and just generally, it's both a build that doesn't work in any other content, and a build that is incredibly boring, lame to play, and it's just not a realistic actual experience of Diablo 4. It's this artificial inflation of our power to anyone that doesn't understand what and why it's happening. If we take away shatter fishing and all of the shenanigans, some of which probably will get fixed in Season 7, hopefully, associated with it, our best pit clear is, as I just said, 106, 107, putting us firmly in last place for power, which is a huge issue. So when looking at the patch notes, I was really hoping for some juice. And, well, there's a little bit of it, but let's get into it. First and foremost, none of the kind of neutral or class affecting changes have done anything for Sorcerer, so we can jump straight into the specifics. Meteor! This is like, please, it's our coolest skill, or at least one of them, and I just want a Meteor season so badly. In any case, I mean, it's nice, it's a bit of a damage bump, it's appreciable, but it's not going to suddenly make Meteor ridiculous, so it's kind of there. Maybe another like 5-6 of these, and we'll start getting somewhere. Then we get Enhanced Meteor, which is now, if it hits 3 or more enemies, you just get an extra Meteor. It's not a 30% chance. So essentially, when you're clearing large groups, when you're pit pushing, you just will get double Meteors. I mean, that's really nice. That's double damage. The issue is it doesn't affect bosses. It needs to affect bosses. It needs to get that hits 3 enemies or a boss, you'll get an additional Meteor. That suddenly makes it very exciting, and at least this is a step in the right direction, but it's not there yet. Which I feel like is a sentence I have to keep using to describe essentially nearly every Sorcerer change we get. A step in the right direction, but it's not there yet. Enhanced Hydra. While healthy, you get an extra Hydra head, and now also you do an extra 50% multiplicative more damage. This is really good, but Hydra is still struggling. It's not good enough to carry its own build, and before, when you summoned a Hydra, it used to immediately spit, whereas now it waits a little bit, so you can't even spam cast it and have it spam fire, which was actually workable in a few neat, interesting builds. And the issue is it's pure conjuration and burning, and that makes it quite, well, awkward to actually build around. So again, step in the right direction, but it's not there yet. Same with Familiar. I would love to have a Familiar build, but a 30% damage increase isn't going to cut it. They have fixed the interaction with Enlightenment and Sid Haze bindings, but that's still, you know, not that crazy either. And until we can have more Familiars out at once and even more meaningful damage on them, it's not going to do a lot. Incinerate. This is actually really nice. I mean, you will definitely take an extra 42% damage on the top end of Incinerate. Incinerate is kind of almost there. Of course, it suffers from being grounded and channeling, but I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. It's the trade-off for using it, but that trade-off should involve getting a boatload of burning damage, and we are actually starting to get there, especially with an aspect change coming up, and ironically, Incinerate has turned into the build I am most excited to put together post this patch, and something I will do for you guys. Then we've got Via's Mastery, another key passive getting an upgrade, and it reads on paper, wow, 250% more damage. But you gotta remember, it's only a small chance to proc, so this actually translates from 25% more damage to 50% more damage on your shock builds. And given that it's competing with Enlightenment, which is essentially double damage to your build, yeah, it's still not worthwhile unless you desperately need the damage reduction, but we kinda don't now Shroud of False Death is in play. So this, again, step in the right direction, but it's not there yet. It just needs to scale. That's all it needs, to have a infinite amount of scaling that we can keep pushing into, you know? Damage increases akin to your critical strike damage as an easy one, like splintering on Via's Mastery. That's what your key passives need. Like New Combustion, that now goes up and up and up forever the more bonus damage to burning enemies you get. Which is kind of problematic because you can't get a lot of bonus damage to burning enemies, but you can certainly get some and then start to really pump this, and we can probably end up in the region of 120x more burning damage on top of the other Incinerate buffs. Yeah, this is looking really exciting. I would prefer it to be tied to like equal to your bonus to fire damage, 25% of that, and that's a lot more buildable, but this is actually the most step in the right direction so far. If all of our key passives start to work like Combustion does now, we are really looking exciting. So I hope Season 7, the next Campfire chat, patch 2.1, actually brings that in. Avalanche getting the triple chance to lucky hit is really good, kind of eliminates the need for the aspect Frozen Memories, which is really good because that means you're just actually gaining a lot more damage, as that aspect was essentially dud and never felt great to put on. That said, it is just 25% multiplicative more damage, which, don't get me wrong, is a lovely little bump up, but it's still not as much as Enlightenment will give you. I really wish this was, as they alluded to, 25% of your bonus to vulnerable damage. You know, scaling like burning from combustion now. Then we'd be talking, then ice shards would be incredible, and then the frost builds would really have a key passive to be proud of. As it stands right now, it's still just kind of worse Enlightenment, especially as mana isn't a factor because we have infinite of it really easily, especially with all the Conjuration Mastery and Conjuration spamming that goes into every build. So, yeah, I'm not going to say the sentence, but I will let you know that I want to say the sentence. Then we get to Charged Flash, which is going to need some testing because the wording is a little bit okay. So we now deal critical surge damage from enhanced charge bolts instead of critical flat damage. In theory, that should be good, but Charged Flash was really awful, so it's going to remain to be seen if this actually saves it. Overheating, however, yeah, this is just wonderful. I mean, just straight up 100% increased damage to your Incinerate. Coupled with the changes to Combustion, the raw buff to Incinerate, this an extra 100%, whack it on your neck, that's 150%, you got flamethrowers on your staff. We might actually see something really cool here. At the very least, it's monstrous for leveling. Then we get Piercing Cold, which is really nice. At least it's more damage for having this aspect on as opposed to less, and we now no longer feel as bad about wasting a precious aspect slot on functionality as opposed to damage, but I do think it should be, if your Cast of Ice Shards only hits one enemy, then it also does like the max 100% more damage, or at least half of it, or something like that. You know, these aspects that work really well against a group of enemies, and they do, need to have, or if it's a single boss, clauses on them, so they actually help there, and don't feel a little bit, when it comes to those big, chunky health bars to get through. Starfall Coronet, I mean, this is always going to be difficult. Getting from 4 to 3 is nice. That means we can kind of comfortably get towards the second cooldown mark on Meteor, and with 3 charges, we might be able to just spam it as if we had infinite mana, but we can also get infinite mana with Meteor without using Starfall Coronet, and then we get to use Perdition, which is 60% multiplicative more damage. So Yeah, it's really... this needs to be a different slot. The biggest buff they could do for Starfall Coronet is make it like an offhand or boots or just something that we don't mind giving up, because perdition is just too good and this doesn't make this attractive over it. I really want Meteor to get there, and it's trying, but it needs a bit more of a push. Stalagmite doesn't really matter because Ice Spikes is at 100% crit without it, and it's not worth it just for the bonus damage to Ice Spikes alone, sadly. Torch, at least, is a significant increase, and with the burning damage as part of combustion, yeah, there is definitely something to play with there. And then Pyromaniac is, yeah, that's just fine. It's not going to set anything on fire, ironically, but it is just fine. So that's kind of where we're at, right? It's just fine. A lot of things have gone up, a lot of things have gone to better places, but none of those better places are build enabling, meta shifting, or anything of the sort. I'm hoping that this is just groundwork for then the bigger patch 2.1 season 7 as we go into the PTR and test everything, and with new uniques or new other mechanics, or maybe even a seasonal power mechanic, God forbid, we get extra layers that start to really compound with what we've got here and make things a lot more potent. I know that they really think that the classes that aren't spiritborn are kind of in a good place, but that's why I started the video the way that I did. Sorcerer is not in a good place. It is being artificially inflated by everyone pushing with Shatter, and that's completely fine. It's you know, it's cool that that can happen, but that should not be a banner for, look, Sorcerer's fine, because it's not. That doesn't affect 99.9% of the Sorcerer population who just want to be strong with normal, actual fun builds that work in everything other than extreme pit pushing just for the sake of it. So yeah, it's all good, it's just disappointingly good, if that makes sense. So let me know what you guys think. That said, I will be bringing you an Incinerate build, maybe Ice Shard just for completionist's sake, as we haven't looked at it in a while, and, you know, it's a lot better than it was at least, and that's kind of, I'll maybe play with Meteor, but look, I'm trying my best out here for you guys. For now though, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.